Are you a woman who was late diagnosed with ADHD? Well, I am. So listen if you're interested, and I'll comment with my page to get to the whole video and my blog. But I am writing a book on it. So, late diagnosis ADHD. I'm 51 right now. I think I was diagnosed right around the time I was 40. From what I understand, this is a very common experience for women of my age, especially many that have gone through menopause. It comes up a lot during that period of time. So it just wasn't a thing, right? Like, we grew up in the mid to late 70s, 80s. Like, ADHD was a thing for like boys who like were restless and like ran around in class like they ate a lot of sugar. Like, it wasn't a thing for girls. Ours manifests much more quietly. We are trying not to draw attention to ourselves. I'm sure many of you have seen the TikToks where it asks like how many of us, like when we were in class and we were doing reading assignments and like every kid had to read a paragraph, how many of you were counting ahead by the number of students to figure out which paragraph was yours and then reading it in your head over and over and over again so that you'd be prepared? I was doing that all the time, but I thought I was the only one doing it. Turns out a lot of us were doing that. Or when it came time for like the teacher to ask questions of the class, were you the first to raise your hand and get the answer right so that you did not get unexpectedly called on later? I was doing that because then it gives the illusion that you're engaged, you're put together, you're caught up on everything, and more than likely you're not going to get called on unexpectedly later, right? So then you can sort of like daydream or whatever it is, your brain is malfunctioning, nobody notices. So the key is blending in very quietly. Were you described by friends or family as too emotional, too lazy, too dramatic, too this, too that? Like, lots of adjectives that started with "too." Yeah, me too. Lazy was a big one. So for me, it was like my parents might be doing work around the house and I'm watching TV or reading a book, and they're just like seething underneath at how I'm not like getting up and offering to help. And so therefore I'm lazy. My brother and sister would inherently get up and do things and offer to help, whatever, but I didn't. And so the assumption was I was just lazy and selfish and just whatever. But for me, I didn't understand that. Like, I just thought, okay, they're cleaning, they're doing these things because that's what they need to do right now, or that's what they've decided to do. And they're not asking me to do it, so I'm going to just continue to watch my TV show or read a book. If they had asked me to specifically do something, I would have immediately done that. And that was my history. If I was given a specific task, then I would do it. But I don't read minds, and I'm also someone that just kind of putters and does things whenever it is I feel like it. So it's not unusual for me to like look at my parents and be like, oh, I guess my mom feels like cleaning the kitchen right now. That has nothing to do with me. It's completely unrelated to my activities. But to them, it was like, well, I should have just known to get up and offer to help. I didn't. And so that was a frequent argument in our house was, she's selfish, she's lazy, she doesn't do anything. Again, totally untrue. If it was an activity that I was really interested in, I was super engaged, not lazy. In fact, I had to study so much harder than my siblings and so much harder than my peers. Like, when it came down to homework, like, I was burning the midnight oil at the dining room table, like rewriting all the chapters from my book, highlighting, making flashcards, studying until long after my siblings went to bed. I would sometimes be nodding off at the table. That is not lazy. I was doing that constantly. So I was actually spending like significantly more energy on things than I think the average person was. But because I didn't read the unwritten rules and the signals, it was misinterpreted. So wondering about others, have you had this experience? And so the reason I'm bringing it up is my goal right now is, while I'm unemployed, I actually have like the mental capacity to do the creative things I've been putting off for a really, really long time. And so I'm writing a lot. I'm writing a memoir. And what I'm doing, which sounds so pretentious, sorry, like I don't actually think I'm important enough to have a memoir, but like I'm doing it anyway because I'm a writer and I've never been able, I honestly don't have the attention span to write fiction. So it's always been nonfiction, blog, memoir, commentary, op-eds, things like that. That's what I've always written. So that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm rewriting it through the filter of like, what if we look at all of that stuff through the lens of ADHD versus all these labels of too this, too that, too much, too little. And so I am really kind of reframing a lot of my experiences and understanding them through ADHD, not these massive character flaws. I do have character flaws and defects, as do we all. But the ones that I think were misunderstood and assigned to me as a child by family, by teachers, by society, were very, very misunderstood. And it's not their fault. It was a complete misunderstanding of this diagnosis for girls at that time. And even for boys, it wasn't really well known. I don't think there was like medication or therapy that was happening at any like regular interval. So, even for boys in the 70s and 80s, the treatment wasn't great. The recognition of it wasn't great. You were just sort of known as like a spaz who couldn't sit still or behave in class. And that's not right either. So I'd be really curious to hear other people's examples or stories, and how has this impacted you as a later in life diagnosed? Like, how are you dealing with your life? It's certainly impacted my career very negatively. I kind of relived all that childhood stuff through other adults throughout my employment. And so my employment was really, really hard. And so therefore this being laid off thing is me taking time to like figure out like, where are my skills best suited in a place that will be less to, and see like my ADHD strengths as positives, like my strategic thinking, my pattern identification, my ability to kind of hold two truths at the same time, even when they're opposing, all sorts of like really cool things I can do. I can see the end game long before others. I can think about things. I can think about impact. I can think about loopholes. I can predict a lot of stuff so that like if I'm able to kind of run with something, I can almost put out a perfect project or a perfect product from the beginning because I've thought through all the things that come after. But I also ask questions, which other people might perceive as being defiant, whereas for me, it's just clarity, because other people have these unwritten rules. Those don't make any sense to me. So it's a lot of misunderstandings. And so like, corporate America is not the friendliest place for somebody with ADHD, but the creative space can be great for it. So that's what I'm working on. Again, I'm going to keep doing some content, but I would love to hear from some women that maybe are experiencing this. And I would love to hear like how you're managing it. I think we all do different stuff. I am not a medical expert. I don't have any advice for anyone to give, but it has certainly helped me heal over the past decade or so and really start looking at myself as a good person versus a bad person, which is something I carried for like 40 years. So I think there's a lot of us out there. I've seen a lot of TikToks on it, and I thank everybody that's talked about it because I think that's helped me and I'm learning a lot. So please comment, please share, please save the video, please link out to any other content that I have. Help me in this journey, and I would love to be a supporter of yours as well. Thanks.